So I just recorded a video on the Mother's Day sermon that my pastor gave this Sunday. So for reference, it is the 11th right now, but that just kind of unlocked something in my brain where I was like, so a long while ago. Okay, yes. A long while ago. Not super long ago, but like, we'll say December. We'll say August to September time, maybe even December, January, maybe. I had a talk with my dad, right? And we had a talk on abortion because I am pro abortion if someone chooses to take it, right? I feel like there are a lot of circumstances where it is completely all right for someone to get an abortion. Um, but my father, however, does not. Um, we have very differing views when it comes to this sort of thing because I believe that people should have choice. Um, and because I was making the point where it is people like him that are making the choices and putting these choices into action, whether people have a choice or not to get an abortion. And he was fighting, like, no, right? But it's the ethics. It's like, is this the right thing to do? And I'm like, you're doing it again. You're fighting for someone who doesn't know what it's like and the complications. You can't say if a kid was on a playground, it was their fault if they got pregnant. Okay, whose fault is that? Is it the child's fault? No, you wouldn't say that. But if it was my fault, or not if it was my fault, but if it was me, it was my fault because I put myself in that situation. If I was walking around in the neighborhood at midday, or in the morning, or in the afternoon, in a busy area, or if I was walking around in an area where, it's a safe area, but suddenly something happens to me, it's my fault? Because someone else made that choice to do that to me? Great, thank you. But you wouldn't blame the child for having that happen to them, right? That's just cruel. You'd probably blame the parents for letting that happen, right? But why don't we blame the people that we actually need to hold accountable, like the person who does it? Because, okay, that's only one of the reasons why someone might get an abortion. Right, in my eyes, I'm seeing it mainly as for people, not for people, but like, in the way when people have things done to them they don't consent to. Is that their fault? No. It's the person who did that action upon another. That's the person who's at fault. But why might someone get an abortion, right? It could be they aren't ready for it. They know they are not financially stable enough. They don't think they should bring a kid into the world when the economy currently sucks in the US. Let me actually get you some statistics. Anyways, as I was saying, let me get some statistics. Reasons why someone might get an abortion. Here we go. I'm not using AI. I hate AI. I'm not going to read from the AI. Right? And here are the most common reasons. 40% is because this doesn't add up to 100. But I guess it's like a mix of factors, so I guess they don't really add up to 100. Anyways. Or maybe it's like on a scale of like yes and no for this one, but whatever. 40% of people say it's because they are not financially prepared. 36 say because it's not the right time in life. 31 say it's issues with partners. 29 say they need to focus on other children. They might already have children. 20% say that it interferes with future plans. 19% say they are not emotionally or mentally prepared. Keep in mind, some people don't want to have kids because they are not mentally well enough, and that is a good choice. 12% is because of it's a health issue, and they're not able to do so. 12% is because they are not able to provide a good life. 7% is because they're not independent or mature enough. 5% is from outside influences, and 3% is just because they don't want children, which is fine. We're gonna read over this, okay? Right, some economic concerns are the most commonly cited reasons why people choose to have an abortion. There are numerous reasons why one may feel financially unprepared to be a parent. One reason might be the overall cost. Having a child is expensive. This is not me reading it, but having a child is expensive. I know. I'm a child, right? And I have two siblings. And even then, it gets pretty expensive with food, right? Food and meals, making sure we are clothed, comfortable, school, all of that. Things that people normally hope to have for their kids, to have food and shelter. Food, a shelter over their heads, clothes to put on their back, and make sure they're educated because that saves us from a lot of future problems. But anyways, according to 2015 figures from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the average cost of raising a child from birth to age 18 is 233,000, or about 13,000 annually, and that's crazy. And that will add on to other factors, like maybe they aren't earning enough, maybe they don't make enough to support themselves alone, maybe they don't have enough to even support an extra person. And so, especially with the economic state that we're in the US, um, unemployment, and some people say that we might be going into the next Great Depression. I'm not sure about that, and I hope not. But high unemployment, frequent business fails, and whatnot. And it's just not only that, but having a child can also affect someone's um, earning potential due to hours they might need to take out. Some people call it the motherhood pay gap. Also, that's probably just for having a child in general, and not for the reason I'm saying. But and also another problem is a lack of health insurance. And so, people who lack health insurance may or have a low income is often, given by the government, but not everyone qualifies. So, again, another frequent reason was timing. Some people just feel like it's not the right time to have a kid. They aren't ready. And so, like unplanned pregnancies, people might not be emotionally or mentally prepared. Another possible thing with emotionally and mentally prepared, there are a lot of people that I know and that I've seen that are just not ready to have a kid because they are emotionally and mentally unprepared. They are emotionally unavailable, they are mentally unavailable. We all have our issues, but some people have more issues than others. And when they're able to recognize that and be like, I can't have a kid because I can't put them what I went through, I can't give these kids the problems that I have, that is a big part, right? And that's why I don't want to have kids, because I have a lot of mental issues that I've probably got passed down to me. Um, and that's just not good for kids to have. Like, I can tell you, I've been suffering with a very, very, I guess not super severe, but like, I have like this really big kind of like depressive thing. Not called depression because I wasn't really diagnosed, but like, right? Um, since I was like 10, it's been bad. And even possibly from before that, where I've just never really been happy with where I was at, despite being just a child. And so, because of the timing, there could also, like moving back to the timing, but because of the timing, there could be, very big future impacts. 20% of the people who seek an abortion specifically feel that being pregnant or having a child will affect their future. They might choose to have an abortion because they want to avoid the changes in their future, in their educational plans or careers, or they just want to wait until they're ready, where they're settled in and they're actually fully able to have a kid, where they have the time and where they have the money for it. Um, and there's also a lot of issues, like family issues, that go into getting an abortion, like the lack of partner support, um, whether that be they're not in a good relationship with their partner, or the fact that just having a kid would affect, um, you know, fact that they just don't want to be a single parent. I know my parents would always say, "Why don't you just put it up for adoption then?" But then there's so many kids already. Okay, let's see. How many kids need to be adopted? Let's see. Okay, here's some of the statistics. Okay, this is from. No, I don't want the AI overview. Okay, this is from adoptamericannetwork.org. And it states that there are over 515,000 children in foster care, with 15,500 children waiting to be adopted. Over 20,000 children age out of foster care every year without a family. That's a lot of kids. You're telling people to put kids into adoption when there's already so many kids that will just never get adopted, right? And this is directly from the site. Despite the fact that we live in one of the most fortunate nations in the world, there are 515,000 children in foster care, with 15,500 children waiting to be adopted. Over 20,000 children age out of foster care every year without a family to call their own. For these children, every day that passes without a family of their own is an eternity. This is, okay, and then this is, what compels Adopt America Network to prioritize finding permanent, lifelong connections for these children, which is great. And there's so many kids, right? There's so many kids on this page waiting to be adopted. These are kids. These are kids. I don't know what else to tell you. They are kids that people just left. Maybe it wasn't by choice. Maybe it was. But there's so many kids waiting to be adopted. Sorry, I'm looking at the page. There's so many kids waiting to be adopted. You can't just say, "Hey, why don't if you don't want to if you want to get an abortion, just put them into adoption," because there's so many kids in adoption waiting to get adopted that are just not getting adopted. And that is the fate for a child if you tell someone to just put them into adoption. They will probably stay in the system forever. Maybe not forever, but it's very rare. Okay, it's not rare. So many people adopt kids, but you hear how many kids are still waiting in adoptions. There's so many of them. So many. It's really so sad, but there's so many kids waiting for to be adopted. Some of these kids look really chill. Anyways, sorry. Anyways, um, and there's some family pressure you know, in abortions too, because not because the parents are telling them to get an abortion. Some of them are, but because no one will support them having that child, and that makes things really difficult. And again, what I said about being in an abusive or unhappy relationship, social stigma because of unplanned pregnancy, and rape or incest, which is my main point normally when talking with my parents, because they always scare me about, oh, you should cover up or whatever because you're gonna get raped or molested. And this is going to be directly from the verywellhealth.com, which I've been reading the reasons for an abortion. Rape or incest. In the United States, an estimated 25,000 to 35,000 pregnancies are caused by rape each year. Half of all rape-related pregnancies end in abortion for reasonable reasons. Whenever they look at the kid, I don't think someone wants to be reminded of the person who raped them, which is why sometimes people who don't have abortions end up treating their kids really badly, which it's not an excuse for treating your kids terribly, but it's just something they really need to work through that they didn't get to work through because they were forced to have a kid. um, the frequency of pregnancy. Okay, this is from incest, but the frequency of pregnancy from incest is not as well documented. However, shows that 1% disclose the reason for having an abortion. Okay, 1% of women disclose the reason for having an abortion is rape or incest. Could be both, which is terrible. And then again, without having other children, health reasons. About 12% of health or abortions are related to health issues. This includes both concerns for the woman's health related to the serious illness, or to a serious illness, and cognitive medical reasons conditions on the fetus. Age is a big factor here. People who are older or younger when they've become pregnant may worry about their ability to care for a child. A very young person may be concerned about emotional maturity, while an older person may have health conditions that can make raising a child difficult. Increased health risks for people who become pregnant in their early teens and people who are older than 35. And then also just imagine people who are younger than their teens, because that does happen sometimes. Not all the time, but it happens. From, again, the thing that I say, like, rape, molestation? Molestation? It's just, yeah. These pregnancies come with a fatal risk. Babies born to adolescent mothers are more likely to be premature and of low birth weight. Health consequences to both the baby and probably the mother or the parent. Babies, which can lead to lifelong health consequences. Babies born to people over the age of 35 are at greater risk of first trimester miscarriage and chromosomal abnormalities. Again, mother's health. At times, pregnancies can be at a high risk to the mother's safety and well-being. In fact, 700 women die from pregnancy complications each year in the U.S. And you're forcing me to do this? You would force me to have my child if I got molested? So it's like to my parents, but like, how harmful that is to be like, so are you saying if something happened to me, you would force me to have the child against my own will? My dad, my mother very confidently go, yes. Great. Glad to know you care more about a possible baby than my health. You're willing to let me die, even the possibility of having a baby. What if I died? Not even while having the baby, before even birthing it, and we both die. Is it really worth it? Pregnancy can exacerbate underlying pre-existing health conditions that severely compromise a woman's health. Women with renal or cardiac diseases are particularly high risk of pregnancy-related death. There are many worries about the health of a fetus. This can be found during genetic testing or in early pregnancy or during anatomy scan. Anatomy scan at about 20 weeks. In some cases, concerns over fetal health may be related to the use of alcohol, drugs, or prescription medications that harm fetal development. In some cases, an abortion may be indicated because the fetus died while still in the uterus. If the fetus is already dead, question, are you still mad that they're having an abortion? Abortions are important because although waiting to deliver naturally is sometimes an option, abortion can help to relieve emotional stress and prevent complications related to carrying a dead fetus, because I'm pretty sure that could kill you if you carried a dead fetus. I mean, can you die from carrying a dead fetus? Okay, here we go. It's not immediately life-threatening to the mother, but they can experience. Oh, where'd it go? But they can experience. There you go. But they can experience severe blood loss or develop an infection of the womb. I lost it. Oh, here we go. Infection of the womb. These are rare complications. Gastrointestinal side effects such as nausea, diarrhea, cramping, or abdominal pain and fever have been reported with misoprostol. Surgical treatment has the disadvantage of requiring anesthesia. It carries risks of damage to the uterus, cervix, and possible development of the fibrous tissue in the inner lining of the uterus. This can be avoided if the non-viable pregnancy is treated with medication, or if the woman is able to wait for spontaneous expulsion. We set out to determine if a medical treatment is good as better than surgical treatment or management. So basically, it could be potentially harming and potentially harming if you don't fix it, but it's also potentially harming if you try to fix it through surgery. Um, yeah. Oh, and here is the summary. So, for many people who choose to have an abortion, not being able to manage costs of raising a child plays a significant role in their decision. In each case, though, multiple factors go into making the decision of a term to terminate a pregnancy. Other common reasons for an abortion include social, emotional, and family issues. Medical reasons for abortion include underlying health conditions, threats to the mother's life, and fetal malformations that are inconsistent with the life outside of the womb. Trauma from pregnancy caused by domestic violence, rape, or incest, mental health concerns, and active addictions are other reasons why a woman or a person may not just may decide to not have an may decide to have an abortion. And that's where I come full circle because I've been reading that for so long. It's a talk I had with my parents. So during that talk, they were wondering if she should send me to therapy again. Not like I went to therapy before, but because we were considering sending me to therapy a while ago. They're the reasons I need therapy, I swear. And during this talk, they pulled up the point from their back pocket, going, "Where's my empty paper? Oh, going, these kids, they don't choose to die. You chose that for them. They don't choose to die. You have that in your hands, and if you choose to kill them, you are a killer." That's where I say, you probably would have killed someone if you didn't like them. I'm kidding. They wouldn't. My parents are good people. But it's like saying it's the same and people should go to jail for it, saying it's the same as a mass murder, that is just not true. Yes, an abortion affects everyone. It affects the parents, it affects the possible grandparents, it affects the friends and family around them. So they could be really sad that they didn't get an abortion, or no, sorry, that they got an abortion, and that life that could have been, that child that could have been their grandchild or their niece or their nephew, that they don't have that. Yes, that is sad, but this unborn child hasn't lived a life yet. To put someone in danger someone who has already built up a life, someone who has a life, and you are deeply connected to, you would probably be more sad about them dying than the unborn baby. I'm just saying. Yes. I'm not trying to say that other things like miscarriages are bad either. Or sorry, are like, how do I explain this? I feel like I'm gonna explain it in a way that doesn't feel appropriate. But I'm not saying that they should be put aside for like miscarriages. Like that's obviously really sad, especially if that's what you really want. But if someone wants an abortion, they should have the opportunity to get it to save themselves and whatnot. I'm just, I'm just saying. I feel like people should have the option to have an abortion if they want it, if they need it. You'll, like I said, you'll care more about the person that you actually know dying than a fetus that is not able to even be born yet. I mean, unless you want. I just. Yeah. And the difference between a baby and an embryo is that you freeze a baby, you'll kill it. You freeze an embryo, you save it. Just like to make the point. But anyways, the point that made my parents consider that was like, do you need help? Do you want to go to therapy? Was the like what I said again. They pulled out of their back pocket, or my father did at least. He went, "This is an unborn baby. You are making the conscious decision to kill it." And and it didn't have a choice or say in the matter. And what I pull out of my back pocket, I didn't get a choice in the same matter to be born into this god awful world, which the economy has gone down, and it's hard to live. I didn't make that choice to come into this world. You made that choice for me. Just like how the fetuses that aren't born, they don't know what they're missing out on. Good for them. Not saying it's good, I'm just saying, you know, they don't get the choice to not be born. I didn't get the choice if I wanted to be born. Because, yes, pain lets us know that we are alive. But to ask someone to be in pain there the rest of their lives just for, just so you can have, the mentality knowing that someone was, I guess, saved because of your complex, because you want more people in this world when we're already overpopulated. Just crazy. Anyways, yeah, I didn't choose to be born into this world. Is there good times? Yes. Is there bad times? Most definitely. But I wouldn't want to bring a child into this world where I cannot support them, and when there's already so many kids waiting to be adopted. What is the point? They're going to suffer if I do, suffer if I don't. I'm not saying it's bad to have children, I'm saying don't force your beliefs upon someone else. I'm saying give someone the chance to live their life through themselves, and you live your life through yourself. Don't try to live vicariously through other people. Don't try to live through other people in general. Okay, let's all have our own opinions and be able to talk about it. But this was just a one-sided conversation.